there he is.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And let's see, we're going to have to make a couple of minor adjustments here. Now, as many of you know, I generally don't do this on the fly, but we had the opportunity to come out here and talk to David while he was meeting with delegates and given the reasons why he believes he's the best pick for Secretary of State. Now, FYI, I have reached out to his opponent. It is always open. I try not to discriminate against anyone, regardless of my personal feelings, which we've talked about before. No need to rehash now. But I think it's really important that David be given an opportunity to talk to delegates and give his reasons for running and why he thinks he's the best person for the job. So without further ado, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Again, my name's David Shelton. I'm currently the Knox County Clerk. Been clerk for a little over 7 years now. In that time, I've been fortunate enough to be named Indiana Clerk of the Year 3 different times by my peers. I've also been court appointed to 3 different recount commissions around the state. I've been nationally recognized twice by the EAC for innovations in our elections. Those are innovations that are in use in Indiana and other states around the nation. I'm kind of an election nerd. I got into redistricting back after the 2020 census. Learned how to do the population deviation computations. It gave me an opportunity to use algebra for the first time since high school, helping over 40 counties in Indiana address local redistricting needs. I had about a dozen counties actually redraw their boundaries based solely on my recommendations. Prior to all that stuff, I've been a licensed private investigator for over 25 years, been a fraud investigator, and that background allowed me to find a couple cases of voter fraud in my own county after the 2020 election, one of which we were able to actually get a felony conviction on the gentleman. Only felony conviction related to the 2020 election in the state of Indiana that year. I then found another case of voter fraud from the 2020 election more recently, last year actually, and attempted to get a felony conviction on that one, but I was missing a key piece of evidence that I really needed to pursue charges. And the reason why I was missing that piece of evidence is because we only had a 22-month retention period for election-related materials. I took that as a learning experience, and I went to my local legislators, and we actually had a Senate Bill 113 sponsored this year by Senator Darrell Schmidt at my request, and we had the retention period extended. We initially went for a full 5 years to match a statute of limitations related to election laws, but they extended it another 12 months, so I'll take that as a win, but still room for improvement. So, when I talk about election integrity, that's not a campaign talking point for me. It's something that I live and breathe every single day. And I know to first have election integrity, you must first have personal integrity. And that's why if I'm nominated, if I'm elected, I'm not going to hire a brother-in-law for a state job. I'm not going to be buying a $90,000 vehicle. I definitely will not be giving out $1 million no-bid contracts. I'm about taxpayers' money. I'm going to be a good steward of that money. I know when it comes time to spend that money, part of it comes out of my own pocket. I don't like spending my money, and I'm not going to like spending your money.
So I think you've touched on a couple of really important points, at least to me. One of the most frustrating things that I see when I see elected officials is what I consider abuse of the office. Mm-hmm. And things like getting friends and family a job. Sometimes you happen to know someone who's the best fit for a particular position. Mm-hmm. And I understand a lot of people get into politics for networking, not you, but in general. And then they're able to learn, okay, this guy's really good at this. We could use him in the office, for example. However, when you see elected officials creating positions for someone, position that didn't exist before, and then when hauled in front of committees, can't seem to justify why this position is there or won't answer questions. Mm-hmm. For me, the voter, I get concerned. So it's good to hear that you have a different approach.
Well, I feel government exists to create services, to provide services for the people. It doesn't exist to create jobs for people.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm going to go for there.
Yeah.
I want to be a good steward of our taxpayer dollars. I'm going to find creative ways to provide services and cut expenses. You know, there's not going to be any shameless self-promotion from my office, period. I don't need to be the center of attention. I'm not going to conduct myself like I'm on reality TV. I'm just not going to do it.
That's good. Now, my understanding, maybe you know more about this than I do. My understanding is they found that the current Secretary of State essentially, I don't know if it was law that he violated, but definitely with the big self-promotion, guys, the huge name and then position. Is there anything happening with that? Do you know? Or did they just go, you need to stop? And then that was it?
Well, I know that the legislatures cut his budgets pretty substantially last budget session. He's still finding ways to self-promote.
Okay, fair enough.
To what extent, I don't know, but
Right.
you know, I mean, there's definitely a department of self-promotion going on in that office, and it's frustrating. You know, we see our governor traveling around the state with 2 state troopers or Capitol policemen.
Right.
Why is our Secretary of State traveling around with an entourage of 4, 5, 6, 7 people? It makes no sense.
That's a really good question. Something, just so you guys know, this is an event where he came in order to talk to delegates. I was fortunate enough to grab him afterwards and go, hey, sit down for a minute. I got most of it recorded, but we're trying to fill in a few gaps. One of the gaps is, so when the incumbent took office, there were 40-something employees for that division, correct?
Yes.
Now it's almost doubled.
Yes. My understanding is like 85 employees. You know, he's got a press secretary. He's got a photographer, a videographer. He's got a chief of staff. He has a security/driver guy. He created these regional outreach people. I don't know how many there are. At least a half dozen, if not more.
And are those paid positions?
Those are all state paid positions. You know, recently had somebody that was not even an Indiana resident, but was a full-time hybrid employee who was a registered voter from New Jersey who held political office in New Jersey, yet he was a full-time state employee.
That's a problem.
That was a problem.
That's a problem. So my understanding, just to make sure and clarify, you intend, if elected, to cut.
I do. I'm not going to walk in. You know, it'd be foolish to say I'm firing everybody before you even walk in the door. You need to assess what they're actually doing. But I'm going to be a good steward of our tax dollars.
Great. So you mentioned that you're an election nerd, but we didn't get a chance to show the people you're actually an inventor as well, and it's actually specified 2 elections. What did you make?
So we have a component with our no ink e-poll books called an encoder. What the encoder does, it programs the vote card to pull up the right ballot for the voter. Without the encoder, it's incumbent upon the poll worker to manually select the correct ballot on our microvote voting machines, like what you use up here in LaPorte County.
Right.
The encoder will program the card to bring up the right ballot, so it potentially eliminate potential human error by picking the wrong ballot. The problem with the system was the encoder had no real support system. It simply plugged into the power port of the e-poll book, which in this case is an iPad, and it'd get what I call the wiggles. It would wiggle around. You'd have connectivity issues and charging issues. And wear out the encoders, which cost, you know, $150, $200 to replace. Well, I hashed out a plan to create some kind of stabilizer bracket. Went through several prototypes, found something that worked, and I've never been an inventor before. I went ahead and went through the process of having it patented. Looking back, I don't know if that was necessary. It was an exercise in vanity, to be honest with you. It cost like $17,000 to have a patent.
My understanding. That's one thing that I would completely unrelated. I'd love to make some changes to the patent laws, but that's a whole other.
Very specialized. You know, you can be a lawyer, then you have to go back to school to become a patent attorney. So it's even higher than that.
That's a whole other
looking back, it's such a niche market. Probably wasn't worth the effort, but hey, I'm an inventor. I have a patent. So I can.
You know what? Exactly. And more importantly, you saw a problem and you took steps to fix it. That's the key, at least the takeaway for me And he showed it earlier.
I think I put it up already.
Yeah, it's put away, but it's just a little device that attaches to the bottom of the book. It's not electronic itself.
It's 3D printed.
It just
plastic.
holds the thing in there. And the fact that no one else thought of this, like, you know, but that's inventions all the time. The pool noodle guy. I mean,
I'm on my third generation of that bracket. You know, there's been changes of technology. Now you have the iPad 10 with the USB-C connectors.
Okay.
I already have a bracket for that. I was just at a conference, election conference this week, where the manufacturer of the e-poll book, aware of it. They're friendly. They recommend people to get my product, even though it, you know, helps their product.
Right.
They're wanting to work with me to design for the next one already.
Okay.
And as of right now, I can do that. But, you know, if I'm successful in my campaign,
that's
I'm going to have to take a step back. You know, I've already met with the Inspector General. I'm going to have to either sell my business or, like I said earlier, deprive humanity of the creation.
It's a great thing. And I'm sure that there are poll workers that swear by it because
it saved a lot of hassle, a lot of heartache.
If any of you guys, just kind of tangent here, if any of you guys have used Android Auto, it's like wired, not wireless, the wired Android Auto, if you so much as breathe on that thing, it loses connectivity. It was much the same way with the cards. You insert them, you breathe on it, and they disconnect. This holds it in place, right? There you go. So people have already had to file to run for delegate. This is specifically for delegates. Now, there's good info here for the general election, assuming he wins and comparing the candidates. But specifically, if you are on the ballot for delegate for the Republican Party in Indiana, he is on the ballot for Secretary of State. And just my personal opinion, seems very well qualified. Is there anything else that you think people should know? Like I said, I got most of it. But
you know, I want the job to do the job. I'm a firm believer the office is bigger than the person.
Okay.
I'm not looking for any kind of power or glory. I know I'm looking for responsibility. I want to help administer our elections. I want to create ways to standardize our election processes, eliminate the inconsistencies that you can see from county to county.
Okay. Talk about that for a moment, if you would. So 90 plus ways.
92 ways of doing elections.
92 ways of doing, because we have 92 counties and each one does their own thing because that's how it's been.
And anybody can be elected county clerk. There's no formal training whatsoever with that. I told the story where when I took office, I didn't know much of anything about our elections. I had nobody in my office there to help me learn. They were out on medical leave, the only election deputy I had in my county. And I had to reach out to another county clerk, meet with their staff, pay them out of my own pocket to come up to my county on Saturdays, a couple Saturdays, to make sure I was setting up my first election correctly. So
and this is like the part that at least it speaks to me. I'm very much if I'm going to do it, I try very hard to do it right. And instead of just going, it'll work itself out, we'll figure it out, you took the extra steps to learn the right way, to reach out to other people who have done successful elections and learn, or I should say inquired, and out of your own pocket paid them to come and teach you. So what is the likelihood, assuming you win both the primary and the general election, and you're our new Secretary of State, your plans are to provide training?
An election boot camp for new clerks. You know, I'll rely on experienced clerks. We'll try to keep the cost at a minimum. Have the new clerks come to Indianapolis. We'll hijack an order of computers from some State Department. I'm sure there's a different department getting a new computer every day. we'll borrow these computers for a while. We'll set up the statewide voter registration system in a sandbox environment. That's where it operates like it would, but it's not really connected to it.
Right.
And give the clerks that hands-on training they need, because our elections are so complicated. It's not something that you can learn by reading a book or step-by-step instructions or even watching a PowerPoint presentation. It's something you learn by doing. You have to build that repetition to build that experience. And it's because of the lack of that formal standardized training that we have 92 ways of doing things. Because, you know, if I had somebody in my office when I took office, they would tell me how they knew to do it. Is that right?
Who knows? Right.
Who
exactly.
knows?
Yeah. And that's the fact. I had no idea that there was no level of standardization for county elections.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of a scary thought if you think about it. I mean, I'm not insinuating that anyone is not following the law, but it does bring to mind, if there's no standardization, then how do we know who's doing what? And if it's doing right, I guess.
So, you know, just try to bring everybody together. You know, even now I get phone calls nearly daily from county clerks all around the state asking questions. For some reason, the election processes and everything just stick in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to share, but I'll never claim I'm an election expert. I'm always going to be a student of our elections.
Okay.
And if I have a day where I learn something new or something's, you know, clarified, that's a good day for me. You know, I enjoy learning stuff.
Excellent. So. And I think that's key for like any real oversight, right? Oversight position. I mean, ultimately, Secretary of State is responsible for the elections in the state of Indiana, period. And to hear you say, I don't consider myself an expert, I'm always learning, that's kind of the key for me, at least, is we hear from, at least I do here in LaPorte County, we hear from elected officials that claim they're an expert in A, B, C, D. That's fine if you are, but other people should be giving their opinion on that, not the individual, if that makes sense. And so I'm glad to hear that you consider it a never-ending journey of learning. What would you mentioned a couple of things, but what are other changes that you feel would be important to ensure the sanctity and security of our elections here in Indiana?
We currently have a series of different conferences and conventions across the year. You have a northern district and a southern district for the clerks. You have the summer SBOA conference. You have your AIC legislative committee or conference in the early spring or February.
Yeah.
Then you have an annual election conference in December.
Okay.
Traditionally, I see the current office holder showing up, tells how great he is because he's been to all 92 counties in the first 3 months of the year. Takes some pictures, and he's out the door in 10 minutes. I'm going to clear my schedule. I'm going to be sitting not in the front table, not telling you how great I am. I'm going to be sitting with my clerk family, hearing what they're facing that day, because our elections are quirky.
Yeah.
And there's something quirky popping up every day. I need to be there to hear what happened, to help them find a solution to the problem. I pride myself on being a problem solver and finding solutions. So that's something else that I'm going to do different. It's never going to be about me.
Okay.
It really is. You know, if I'm successful, you may forget that I'm in office, which is probably not a bad thing.
Not at all.
But I'm going to excel at the job. I know I will. And, you know, if I have my way, I've served 2 terms as Secretary of State.
Okay.
I'll go back to Knox County, be clerk again, run some more elections hands on. Maybe then I can think about retirement. My kids maybe will be out of the house by then.
So we obviously can't cover every single thing right now, but where can people learn more about you? And so, well, first, where can people learn more about you?
My website's probably the best bet, Shelton for Indiana.
Okay. And is this spelled out? F-O-R?
F-O-R.
Okay.
Social media, I've got Facebook, again, Shelton for Indiana.
Shelton for Indiana. Okay.
And then on the Twitter X, it's Shelton #4IN.
Okay.
Could I be more active on social media? Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I go to several events a week.
Well,
I don't have an entourage to take my picture every time, everywhere I go. And frankly, it seems disingenuous because the same pictures over and over again.
I'm actually blocked by the incumbent on official government accounts, which, by the
I'm not
way,
sure
the
that's
Supreme
legal.
Court ruled that that's not legal.
Mhm.
I'm not that worried about it. He got mad because I was concerned about the brother-in-law thing. Anyway, point is, the incumbent is making a huge deal out of the fact that he has raised a bunch of money.
Yeah, it's easy to do when you give out no bid contracts, pay to play schemes. You know, as a challenger to an incumbent, that's the number one hurdle. I'm a challenger to an incumbent. And number two, my second biggest hurdle is I'm not for sale.
Right. Okay. I mean, I think that
if you look at the
says it all.
fundraising, if you look at his campaign finance reporting, you're not seeing the traditional Republican big money donors throwing money at him.
All right.
You have a lot of non-traditional donors. If I'm successful, I believe that money will come.
Okay.
If
Well, I think the biggest challenge is in the general anyway. Right.
Well, no, I think the biggest race is a state convention.
Okay. Okay.
If I'm the nominee, I'll win in the fall.
Okay.
Because the Democrats will have absolutely nothing to run on. They'll have name recognition and cute hair to run on, and that's it. If Diego's a nominee, they have things to run on for days. So everything we talked about, and then some.
And then some. Right.
We will lose that office if Diego is a nominee. I guarantee it. But if I'm the nominee, you get a no drama, no baggage, no nonsense, competent election administrator running.
All right.
And I think that'll have some widespread appeal.
Fair enough. The big thing I would say, this is just my opinion, obviously you have to reach out to delegates and potential delegates. What would assume you have a group of really motivated people who want you to win. What can they do to help you?
Reach out to their local delegates in their specific counties. You know, I'm going to rely heavily on my clerk family. I've already have the endorsement about half of the Republican clerks in the state. I need to total up and do the math. Had a few here come lately.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of clerks, they don't want to get involved. They're election administrators. So it may look improper if they're endorsing. But, I think some things are going to be coming out for too long that will encourage a lot more to endorse me. I have the endorsements of over 100 elected officials from all around the state.
All right.
A couple state reps among them as well. And, just slowly rolling those out. But again, you got to get to the delegates. Traditionally, we know who the delegates are. Convention after convention, 75% of them are the same year after year. But the truth is, you're on the ballot. And I won't know officially who the delegates are until 6 weeks or so before the convention. So until the primary, I'm basically fishing in the dark. I've got a list of who the delegate candidates are at everywhere I go. I reach out to them, contact them. If I'm in a county where the clerk's already endorsed me, she'll take me around and introduce me to every delegate candidate in the room. And I can leave everybody else alone.
And I think that's a good way to do it. People are come election season, fatigue is real.
I could be doing the text messages and the mailers already. Why?
Exactly. All right. Well, we've been here a while. And he still has multiple hour drive to go home. You mentioned earlier that you try to get home every night, even though you're going clear.
I'm not doing
across.
It tonight.
Okay.
No.
Good. Because
I'm going to be staying at the Costa Stevens tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And like he mentioned, his clerk family, there are clerks all over the state that are not only backing him, but give him a place to stay and host events for him because they believe that strongly. So I think that says
your viewers, if you don't believe what I said, ask your county clerk. I don't care if you have a Democrat county clerk.
That's an
between,
excellent idea.
Between me and the incumbent, ask your county clerk.
That's a great idea. And I think that's the perfect place to say, as always, do your research. I encourage that. Look into candidates. That's why I started this channel, to inform people and call up your county clerk, ask them, hey, if you had to pick between these two, who would you choose? And that really should tell you what you need to, and ask them why, right? Ask them why. But I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. And delegates, good luck. I mean, I hope I'll see you there. I'm on the ballot too. So hopefully, fingers crossed. But That's it for this evening. God bless you. God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. Hope you have it. Guys, have a great night. See you soon. Good night.